Just for the record, and your show.
I'm Mark Franklin. I'm at 723 Schaefer's Hollow Lane in Roseland. I'd like to start by giving credit where credit is due and thank those involved for the good news I received, where Parks and Rec will start using the school board fields and public property, the fields at Rockfish Elementary. This is a step in the right direction, where we need to see more communication and collaboration between the school board and county in building opportunities and benefits for our community. It is a bad idea for the county to rush into debt and jump at double-digit development ideas, ag centers, rec centers, and swimming pools. A better idea would be to work with what is already here, collaborate with the community centers and organizations working hard to do good for the community. Community centers that once were county property. Who gives away real estate? Apparently, Nelson County gave away taxpayers' real estate. The school properties and community centers could be developed to better serve the community at this time now. Smaller investments could be made that give a bigger impact right now. The Heritage Center has a beautiful gymnasium. With a little effort, its doors could be opened. As a volunteer basketball coach and looking for places for soccer teams to practice indoors as we once did before 30 years ago, trust me, it will be used immediately. Both elementary schools have softball fields and fences that were never used. This again brings of bad planning and another waste of the taxpayers' dime. The county could satisfy recreational needs by redeveloping these areas with a smaller investment than developing its newly purchased raw land of the Larkin property. The Travel Soccer League showed leadership and initiative in developing public property. They also have highlighted the demand and need for soccer fields. Just as it is only right for the county to directly benefit from the taxpayers' investment into the school properties, it is also only right for the county to match, maintain, and upkeep these fields to the current condition of the private investment. Another of my messages from a year ago, we need more ball fields. These fields are sitting at community centers awaiting soccer goals. I don't want to share a field for my practice. I don't want to start my practice at 7 o'clock into the sunset. We need practice fields and game fields. Are ball fields too much to ask for? You could eliminate the unnecessary expenditures and waste of the taxpayers' money on tourism marketing, benefiting only a select few private businesses, and do good for your community. If we are one Nelson, Nelson strong, we can and must work together. I know renovation and development of old sites may not seem like the big deal some of you may want to push for and see built, but it can be a right move in taking small steps in restoring what we have. We can take our time in making development plans to be sure we don't waste like we have done in the past. Save our money and invest in us. Thank you.
All right, anyone else wish to speak in public comments? Now close public comments. Moving on to public hearing, special use permit 838, Class C automobile graveyard.
All right, this is a request for a special use permit for a Class B automobile graveyard use on property zoned A1 agriculture. That is more than 5 inoperable vehicles. This is located at 110 Family Lane in the North District. Property right here. This is Zenith West. Property is owned by Alvin Carpenter and is 1 acre. Planning and zoning issued a violation notice for the property in August of last year for the auto graveyard. The owner is proposing to designate the area behind the shop at 110 Family Lane as an automobile graveyard. Shown on the site sketch, here is proposed fencing 50 feet in length, which would provide screening of the vehicles from adjacent properties and roadways. Commercial, automobile, and salvage yards are required to secure permits from the DMV and DEQ of environmental quality after conferring with Nelson County's Emergency Services Director, DMV, and DEQ. This request does not meet their thresholds for permitting. The area is primarily residential in nature. Zoning in the vicinity is A1, R1, and M2 industrial. and there are no floodplains or streams on this property. It's accessed by an existing entrance from Family Lane, which is located at the northern end of Avon Road, and VDOT had no comments on the entrance. There are no utilities proposed or required for this requested use. The property is located in an area designated rural residential in our current comprehensive plan, which will allow low-density residential and compatible non-residential uses in rural areas where agriculture is not the predominant use. These sites are adjacent to identified development areas and adjacent to existing institutional or small-scale industrial uses and are not expected to be served by water or sewer. At their meeting on February 22nd, the Planning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval of this special use permit with the following conditions: that the number of inoperable vehicles shall not exceed 6. I spoke to Mr. Carpenter today, and he is requesting that that number be revised to a maximum of 10 vehicles. And then number 2, that fence screening at least 6 feet in height as shown on the site sketch shall be required to prevent the automobile graveyard from being visible to adjoining properties and roadways. There's your special use permit criteria.
All right. Any questions before we ask the applicant to come up?
Yes, the violation was issued in August of 2022.
That's correct.
Correct. So what's the process by which this was, you sent a notice of violation, and is there like a sequence of events that's led to this application?
Yes, so typically when we receive a complaint, we're complaint-based code enforcement. So we'll receive a complaint and Emily will go inspect it. If she determines there is a violation, she will issue either a correction notice or a violation notice depending on the circumstances. We give them typically about 30 days to either contact us or clean up the property or correct the violation. Any other options for compliance we'll give them. For example, this property, it was either clean up the site, get it below 5 cars, or apply for a special use permit to have more than 5 vehicles. So when we issue the violation notice, we typically will work with the property owner because we don't want to take anyone to court. It's not very effective typically. So we work with them as long as they are working towards compliance, keeping in contact with us, then we usually don't have any issues. So this property has been cleaned up significantly since we issued the original notice. And then when the applicant realized they wanted to keep more than 5 vehicles, they applied for the special use permit, which was their only option other than cleaning it up. The Class C automobile graveyard is not permitted by right in any other district or by special use.
You said the person significantly cleaned up the area that was in question. For instance,
there were vehicles scattered all over the property. I don't know exactly how many there were, but it's been reduced down now to the 6 that was originally being requested. So originally it was scattered all over the property. You can see, well, not really, but I can pull it up on the aerial imagery if you'd like to see what it looked like in the past. But they've been condensed to behind the shop area, so they're not spread out and there's much less than there was.
So just a comment. On the Planning Commission, I voted in favor of moving this on to the Board of Supervisors, but I haven't seen the property. I went to the property today and I counted 13 vehicles on the property as far as I could tell.
Okay.
And 1 motorcycle. Now, there were trailers, some of them were on trailers, and clearly some of them were, registered vehicles. They weren't all sitting there. But I had to take note that given the recommendation of the Planning Commission, that it looked like there didn't seem to be any incentive to that it resulted in a major change. There could have been more vehicles there before. I just don't know. So my question is, given the notice of violation and everything, is that the only vehicle we have for enforcement? Say we approve the special use permit and the receiver of the special use permit didn't abide by the terms, what do we have to enforce something?
Sure. So with special use permits, the board can, by written order, revoke it for non-compliance with any of the maintenance required or conditions that were imposed on it. So there is a mechanism for the board to revoke that. For example, if we received a complaint in a year, that the property was non-compliant with the approved special use permit, we would notify the board, and the board could decide to revoke it.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we ask the applicant to come up? Hearing none. Mr. Carpenter? We just come up and say hi and what you do and what you want to do.
Yeah, even, like he said, I've got quite a few cars there. You said 13. I've got 9, I got 9. Others got tags on them. Did you notice that? Up to date.
Clearly, some of them had tags. I was just counting.
Pardon?
I didn't check all the vehicles. I just noticed that's how many.
Okay, and those 3 that's got tags on belong to customers. Somebody's I'm working on, so. But like she said, I've cleaned up a lot of them. I mean, I realized I had some stuff that needed to go, and they go. I've got, 6 cars right now for sale. That's for sale. I got doing the work on before I get rid of it. So, and I'm retired. The job I used to work, COVID shut that down. So I'm just home alone drawing Social Security trying to get this act together. But anyway, I've got a few cars, like I said, that I'm going to get rid of. Hopefully by in the summer, I'll be down at 0. But, like I said, it takes time. Like I said, she knows I've been working on it. She's been down there, sure.
Mr. Carpenter, how long have you been working there?
Since 72.
72?
When you was born, probably.
5.
Tommy knows I've been there for years and years and
I went
many,
there in 73, so.
many years. Like I said, just, it's a situation. I mean, I take care of all the property over there. I scrape the road. I put the gravels on the driveway. I pay for them. I don't have no problem with none of my other neighbors. Just one, which, like I said, things happen.
How long have they been here?
Pardon me?
How long have they been here?
How long they been there?
Yeah,
Well, all of us moved over there at the same time.
they've been there a while.
Oh, yeah, everybody's been there. It was just in the 70s, early 70s.
Haven't really had a complaint.
No complaints with them.
Any questions?
One of them things.
That's right. Any questions for the applicant before we ask him to exceed the open public hearing? Thank you, sir. We're gonna open up the public hearing real quick.
Is that all you need?
That's all I need for now. We'll call you back up if we need
Okay.
anything else.
Well, like I said, y'all, you know where I live, and I don't have no problem with the noise besides me. So I mean, that's noise, but I don't have a problem with it.
I got you.
I mean, it's life. Everybody's got to live.
That's right. Hold tight. We're gonna do the public hearing. We might need to ask more questions before we do something.
All right, thank you.
I now open up the public hearing for special use permit 838, Class C automobile graveyard. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to this? I had no one on the sign-up sheet. Hearing none. We now close the public hearing portion of special use permit 838, Class C automobile graveyard. So board, what do we want to do?
Is that your whole property? You asked for the whole property there or just a piece of it?
I just got that acre right there. That's right there beside me.
Yeah.
That's right there beside Zenith.
Zena's over here.
Zenith, the gun shop.
That's the facility nearby. So if you want to make a motion to approve it with the conditions that the planning commission gave, that's the 2 that we gave. The inoperable shall not exceed 6, but we need to, the applicant is requesting it be 10. Okay. And then the second one is a fence screening at least 6 foot in height. Alright. Ernie?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to, make a motion that we, approve special use permit 838 Class C automobile graveyard, including the stipulations, and recommendations from the planning commission, which include the number of inoperable vehicles shall not exceed 6.
Alright.
And number 2, about the fence. Both of those conditions.
Alright. So we have a motion, do we have a second before we go to discussion? The second discussion. The only question I would ask is, what is the thought process of 6 versus 10? Do we just want to stay with what the planning commission suggested, or maximum 10?
Well, my thought is that, there's a lot of vehicles on that property. I mean, there's a lot of vehicles on that property. And they're in various states of repair or disrepair. The planning commission was pretty thoughtful about the conditions. And I support the conditions of the planning commission, but I don't support a maximum of 10 vehicles. I think it then puts them more in a position about commercial automobile and salvage yards. They had mentioned that they didn't meet their threshold for permitting. I don't know what 10 vehicles might do to push it to the threshold. I just don't know.
Okay.
This has been out as long as mine has. I've never had a first complaint on it. It's very well managed, taken care of. It's, not one that you just do it and let it go. It's managed.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second with 6. Unless there's an amendment to make it 10, it will stay 6.
Or you can turn it down.
We don't want to turn it down and then remake another motion. Amending Ernie's motion would be best practice.
You can turn it down and just approve a different.
Yeah, maybe we could turn it down and then, or you don't want to just amend that condition?
That would have to come from the person making the motion.
You can amend someone's motion.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's up to the majority. And then if we don't have a majority for the amendment, then we go to Ernie's motion. Does that make sense?
Doing 8.
Just to get it.
Let's go to 10 and see what happens. What do you
Make a
think?
motion.
You make,
What are you doing?
we're giving him everything he's asked for and with the planning commission. The difference is instead of doing 6 vehicles, we're giving him 10.
Excuse me, that's not what we are right now, right? We don't have an amendment.
We don't have an amendment yet. I was just saying, but Skip was prepared to make a motion for 8.
I say while we're in discussion, I would like to ask the applicant, just if you don't mind, come up to the podium.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, going from 6 to 10, what's your need in that additional 4 vehicles? And because it sounded just now like you were hoping to get rid of them by the end of summer. So I'm just wondering.
Right, well, I got three drag racing cars. They are recreation vehicles, so I'm counting those as well as what she said that I had. And like I said, I've got a car sitting on the trailer, like you said, I'm working on it. It belongs to the customer, but it's sitting on the car trailer. As soon as we get it fixed, it's going back to his house.
So that's not, that doesn't sound like it would be one of the 6 because it's not part of the graveyard. It's a vehicle you're working on.
So,
Yeah.
so your car, those drag cars might not even count anyway.
Right,
Are you okay with,
like you said, and I've got 3 other cars that belong to customers, so that's, and like I said, I get tags on, but I'm counting those too.
Okay, see, I don't think you need to be counting.
But,
That's
like you
just,
said,
Hold on a second.
it'll go up and down, I wanna go 10, so if something happens that You come down and you see, well, you got 10 cars, you're not supposed to have the 6. Well, I'm working on 4 of them, so, you know.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to point, if they're registered or if they're antique tagged, they're not gonna count.
Right.
So you still wanna do the 10, ask
Yes.
for the 10?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to
Okay.
make that clear.
Yes, I just wanna, in other words, if I jump out of an airplane, I like to have 2 parachutes instead of 1.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Craig.
You good?
Yeah, have a seat real quick, unless we ask another question. All right, board, are we voting on 6 or are we gonna vote on 10?
How big of a piece of property is
It's
this?
like 1 acre,
It's 1 acre.
1 acre.
I wrote base it on the acre, then a certain amount of it. That he can do this, on the property.
What do you mean, Larry, Tommy?
I think he means that you could add a condition that the only area designated is the area shown here.
Oh, that's free.
Is that what you mean, just making sure this area is
He's got his
profiled?
land. And what he's doing, wants to do that, he's been doing it for 7 years or more, and I don't see the deal.
All right.
I've got the same identical setup as he's got.
Yep.
I assume mine is legal, but
Someone turn it in. Don't say that, Tommy.
mine is legal.
All right, Tommy, you can make this real easy. If you want a motion to amend Ernie's, you say you move to amend his to include 10 vehicles. And
I
then,
don't want to put a number on it. He's got a half acre, he's got a half acre farm.
that's a lot of cars. That's like 12. Mr. Carpenter doesn't want that. That's 12,000 square feet of cars.
No, I ain't gonna have no over 10, I can guarantee you that.
Just do 10.
I'll just make them leave until I get time to work on them, I won't work them today.
There's still a motion standing that Ernie's made for 6. He's either gonna get 6 or we're gonna amend it and see if there's enough votes for amendment, otherwise we're gonna vote on the 6. All right, do you want 10 vehicles or 6 vehicles?
I want to half acre to do this.
And you probably don't have votes for that.
Well, okay, we'll have to see.
Well, we still have a motion on the floor, we still have a second for 6 cars.
Mr. Chairman, can you call for a vote?
We can call for a roll call vote. We haven't done that in a while, so roll call vote, Amanda.
Mr. Harvey,
No.
Mr. Barton,
I'd go for 6, but, you know, I'd go for 8 too, 10.
is that a yes?
He's got a half an acre.
All right, let's get through the vote.
Yes.
Vote yes.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford.
Yes. Okay. You got 6. That's all we can do, buddy.
Better than none, I guess.
We've already passed it, the motion passed, got 6. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming out.
Yep, thank y'all.
No problem, thank you, sir.
The
Appreciate it.
thing is, the business has been there for as long as management, 34 years. And then they hear from you come up here, and then all of a sudden say you've got to do this.
It's however the rules are today.
Oh, it's grandfathered in, been there.
You would think.
It should never come to the board.
All right, moving on to rezone 837, A1 to M2.
All right, this is a request to rezone property from A1 agriculture to N2 industrial to construct a cabinet shop in Piney River on Patrick Henry Highway in the West District. This property is a little over 26 acres, owned by Michael and Danita Massey, and the contract purchaser is Ben Esch. Property is currently vacant, and the southern portion is in M2 industrial and adjoins existing M2 industrial zoning, that's the gray. The contract purchaser owns and operates a cabinet shop at his home in Amherst County and is requesting this rezoning to permit construction of a new wholesale cabinet shop to relocate his business to Nelson. The applicants provided 3 potential site layouts for reference, favoring option number 1. And that's it there. Also included with the application were proffers submitted by the applicant indicating the uses in the M2 district that are proposed to be eliminated. Should the rezoning request be approved, a major site plan is required to be submitted and approved by the planning commission if the building exceeds 5,000 square feet or if more than an acre of land is disturbed. Subject parcel is split zone primarily A1, that small portion to the south is M2. Property is adjoined by R1 residential, the yellow, A1 agriculture, and M2 industrial. On the east side of Route 151 to the north is BT Ramsey and Son Sawmill, which was rezoned from B1 business and R1 to M2 industrial in April of last year. This update has not been reflected on our GIS yet, so this property here is all gray for M2 as well.
As is that yellow triangle on the backside of it.
Correct.
Any questions for Dylan? Is the applicant here?
Applicant is here.
Any questions for Dylan before we have to ask the applicant up?
Here's the properties.
Can you go back to the color? Yeah. Do you know in those colors where on that property, is it part of the gray section or do you know where
So
the site?
they're proposing to rezone all of this to gray.
Yeah.
The proposed site that they're desiring is up here. Oh, sorry. Here, you can see here. There's a lot. So they're proposing down here. So kind of in this clearing right here. VDOT and the engineer for the site visited. They confirmed that there's adequate site distance. It's in an area where they're required to connect to public water and sewer. The planning commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval with the proffer submitted.
Now, who owns the other property? Beside, up there.
There.
That's Weaver Store. Weaver Store, Killish Store,
Okay. They
Linda
don't-
Barton.
They don't own that part.
They just own that right around the store.
So is that part of the old plant property?
No.
It's right across the road from Billy Thompson.
Yeah. All right, any other questions for Dylan before we ask the applicant up? All right. I don't know your name. How you doing, sir? Come on up.
Yeah, okay, so Ben mentioned, I guess you already know what I want to do. Any questions?
So you're a cabinet maker?
Actually, what I do is build parts for cabinet makers, like the drawer boxes, maybe build doors. That's why it's wholesale. Cabinet makers are my clients. So in the future, I might want to make specialty items like waistbands, holders, or insets. And I build things for cabinet.
You KCMA guy?
Mhm.
Oh, never mind. KCMA. I build houses, so I was just spitballing. So
One thing, someone asked about the location, and I had some drawings, first choice, second choice, third choice. One builder who looked at it with me a bit just early on. He said, well, you test the ground, engineer may recommend another spot or something, and that's why. I mean, that is my first choice, but if they check it out, then they say, hey, it fits better over here, so that could happen.
All right, any questions for the applicant? Hearing none.
How big is the building?
I have there more or less 70 by 100. It could go a little small, a little bigger, just kind of depends on the finances, I haven't got all the costs in yet, and so that may affect it a bit, but I would say at the largest, 80 something by 125, but it could be a small 60 by 80, but so I have 70 by 100, one of them, I think, yeah. Something like that, something around 7,000 square feet, maybe 8,000.
All right, any other questions for the applicant before we go to the public hearing?
How many people will you employ?
Well, right now, it's just me and my boys, and one of my sons here with me. I have a vision, I wouldn't mind hiring 2, 3, 4, 5 down the road. Small community business is kind of what I envision. But right now, it's just my family. In fact, that's one of my issues there in Amherst. I'm on my farm, and I'm restricted from hiring anyone there, and so like that. Because I feel like I'd like to have some help, so I don't have to do everything myself.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Ash? Thank you, sir. We'll go to the public hearing. We will now open the public hearing for rezoning 837A1 to M2. Anyone here wish to speak? All right, 3 minutes. State name and address for the record.
I'm Mark Franklin. I'm at 723 Shapers Hollow Lane in Roseland. I live in the West District. I'm very familiar with Piney River. To me, this is pretty much a no-brainer. There's really not a lot of residences in the area. It's probably not a great place to even build homes. It's a new business to the county. Jesse said himself, Livingston is pretty much open to any options, so I don't see why Piney River wouldn't jump at this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak? Hearing none, we close the public comment section. Does anyone have any further questions for staff or the applicant, or we got a motion ready?
How big is the track?
It's a little over 26 acres.
It's more than what's blocked there, Terry.
Yes, this whole outline is the whole property.
Which whole is mine? Okay.
So this is just a close-up of that.
So it has water and sewer hookup?
Yes. Well,
Yeah, that's
I know, but I thought water and sewer was on the other side, because I thought that's why Michael Douglas and Denise didn't build there, because they would have to drill under the road to get water and sewer. That's what I heard.
I think it is on that side of the road.
It is, yeah.
yeah, the only comments from the service authority said the owner needs to contact their office regarding connection fees and installation. But that was available.
Maybe it was the connection fees.
The line that comes up by the firehouse,
That stops, that ends at Mama's. That line
but
goes,
in that, it's not very far.
well, they've got water and sewer on their side anyway. They've already got it. I'm just curious, all right, and I'll be honest, I don't have, and I've already talked to the applicant once, I don't have a problem with the project whatsoever. I'm just wondering, why are we doing a rezoning rather than a special use permit? I don't understand. Can you explain, the difference and why? Because to me, a special use permit is allowing him to do what he wants to do. A rezoning to industrial allows anybody in the future to do whatever they want to do, and that's where my heartburn is. Not about this project whatsoever, it's about the project after him.
Right. So I can definitely address that. Cabinet shop is only addressed as a by right use in M2. There's no other reference to it in the ordinance. So each district, of course, has a list of by right and special uses. Not all of them are gonna be listed in every district. So like cabinet shop, only in M2 as a by right use. It's not an option for a special use permit anywhere.
So
And
special
then-
use permits can only be applied for and granted if they're on a list of potential special uses.
That's correct.
Okay,
So
I
for
didn't know
proffers, so for example, from the ordinance, this is M2, here you've got uses permitted by right. Everything crossed out are the uses that they're eliminating in perpetuity for the property. So if somebody wanted to come in and do a boat building, or a sawmill, they would have to come back to the board to amend these proffers.
okay.
So the only things highlighted are what would be permitted on the property.
Okay.
Profit should be, profit through that.
Hmm.
The profit, that profit should have the same right as the profit above that, with sawmill that,
Wow.
you know,
This would
Well,
kind of put it in that.
That was zoning done back before my time. I'm just talking about what zoning we have now. And, you know, someone says there's no houses around, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses adjoining this piece of property. So, you know, I don't think it needs to go that, but my heartburn coming into this meeting has just been resolved with those.
Absolutely.
I don't have a problem at all now, so.
They took out distillery, winery, and brewery too, would have all been by right uses.
And we already talked about the lighting. Directional and,
Glare shielded.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is that a condition?
That is in the ordinance.
Oh, that's in the ordinance, okay. All right,
well, I'm Jason Crompton with that, I don't have any problem at all with what he wants to do.
okay. Anybody got a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Approve rezoning 837 with the conditions from the planning commission.
With proffers submitted by
Proffers,
that.
proffers
submitted by the
submitted by the applicant. So the proffers and conditions. All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any further discussion?
What should be done, just approve as presented, if they put more restrictions on it.
So you don't want any of the proffers?
No,
Okay.
I mean, where it's at, it's a commercial piece of property. And why you wanna pick and choose and then cutting it up some, that
Okay.
There was some concern at the public hearing at the planning commission about the farm and some residences in the area, and this particular property being visible, potentially loud, so the particular property owner indicated they were comfortable with it, with the proffers.
in that picture right there, where is the piece of property at?
This blue outline. Here's 151.
All right. All right. So we have a motion, we have a second, as presented in the proffers and planning commission conditions. We have a second. We'll call the question for a roll call vote. Amanda?
Mr. Harvey?
I don't have any problem with the whole thing, but I guess we'll just approve that now and need to come back and do it officially.
If he wants to add any of his proffers back in, he can ask us permission to do it.
Correct.
All right?
We have yes?
Yes?
What,
She needs to know if you're voting yes or no.
what problem with it, you know?
He got rid of a whole bunch of them.
He's saying that if he wants to come back and add proffers or take them away later, he can.
He
Right
can't.
now, we're voting on the proposal presented by the applicant.
That's right. So, yes or no?
Yes and no.
All right. Amanda, ask the rest. we'll
Mr.
circle back.
Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Rutherford?
Yes, Mr. Harvey, what do you want to do?
I mean, I just don't want, to me, it's tying the property down some.
All right,
And what he's asked to do, and what is allowed in this section he's asking for.
I appreciate it. He can come back, and if he wants to add to it, I'm sure he won't have too many problems doing it. Are you good?
Yeah, if we always want to take all the problems off, that'd be fine too, but I'm fine with it.
All right, he's fine right now, and he'll ask for permission to do other ones. I think it passed. Mr. Harvey, yes or no, so we can just get on the record.
Yes,
All right, good. Congratulations. Have a great day. All right, moving on to rezoning 850 A1 to B1. Is Sal coming today? All right.
So he felt really, really bad. He's out of town. He couldn't,
Pass this on.
but he did feel really bad. All right, so this is a request to rezone property from A1 to B1 with a concurrent special use permit for a multifamily dwelling. 8207 Thomas Nelson Highway in the East District. The property is about 3/4 of an acre, owned by Sal Menino, right next to Vito's property. Right there. So this is the building, here's Vito's, here's the building. This, from here over, has been demolished. So this building currently is under use groups for commercial on the bottom and residential apartment on the top. They're requesting a special use permit with the rezoning to construct another building to put 2 to 3 commercial units on the first floor and 2 to 3 dwelling units or apartments on the second floor. Zoned A1, it's adjoined by B1 business and A1 zoning. This is where Livingston Vet Office is. That was also rezoned from A1 to B1 in April and has not been reflected on GIS. Properties mixed use in nature. There's multiple existing entrances from Route 29. VDOT indicated that access satisfying VDOT commercial entrance requirements, spacing requirements, with the land use permits required, and they need to utilize access management requirements to consolidate the substandard commercial entrances. They also recommended possibly sharing access with Henry Hill Lane. It's served by existing public water and sewer service. Service Authority indicated they will need to coordinate with their office as they progress. Properties designated mixed commercial and a comprehensive plan. There were no proffers submitted at their meeting on February 22nd. The Planning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval of rezoning from A1 to B1 and a special use permit for a multifamily dwelling.
What were the conditions for that?
No recommended conditions.
All right.
This is a property here. There's Vito's. This should also be red, B1.
That's the,
That office.
that's, what are they doing with their building?
The vet?
Yeah.
The structure in the back?
Yeah.
My understanding was it was going to be office space.
They just didn't know
They
yet.
haven't done yet.
Okay.
Oh, they were a rezoning, so there's no time limit
Right.
for them on that.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Dylan before we go open up the public hearing? Thank you, Dylan. We now open rezoning 850 A1 to B1 with concurrent SUP 849 multifamily dwelling. Public hearing. Anyone wish to speak to it? Close the public hearing. This is in my district. I suggest we approve it as presented and approved by the planning commission. So we can make that motion.
I'll move that we approve the rezoning request and special use permit as presented.
Excellent. We have a motion. We have a second. Second, Mr. Barton. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Harvey?
yes,
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Rutherford?
Yes. So done. Now, we were talking earlier that the high school who came here, who wanted some money for their project. It sounds like we can donate money and it can go, we would contribute it to the high school or public school. Y'all figure that out. It wouldn't go to the the high schooler, it would go to the school. It's for I guess it was a shade,
It's an outdoor classroom project.
outdoor classroom project. She was asking for 350 or 500, what's the board want to do? $350.
$350.
350.
Yeah,
I say we give them $500.
I say that's a good idea. All right,
I'll second that.
all right, $500, motion by David, second by Mr. Harvey. Any further discussion? Hearing none, vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions opposed? Great, now we need to continue the meeting to tomorrow. Unless there's something else, Candy.
Not that I'm aware of.
All right,
I move that we adjourn to continue the meeting, March 15th at 6:30 PM for the joint meeting with planning commission.
we have a motion, do we have a second? Second, Mr. Park, any further discussion? Hearing none, vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
See y'all tomorrow.
Party one week.
I've been here. I know. I thought I had a meeting last